All right, we are recording, and as it says there, hey, I actually got the direction right. I'm going to be reading iRobot, which I have both this physical copy that's rather old. This is what I originally purchased when it was assigned for me to read in school in college about 15 years ago. But I'm actually going to be reading an ebook version, which that, as you can see, is the cover that matches what's on here. So yeah, it'll be interesting. As I said, I have read this book. It has been about 15 years. Um, I guess we can still talk about the paperback here. It's actually kind of interesting because I can do comparisons. I much prefer that cover to this one, and it's nothing against Will Smith at all. It's purely I don't like cover art for books that are based on movies where it's like it looks like you're just pulling out the movie. I mean, same thing with the prequel trilogy cover art. I didn't like that, and nothing against Hayden Christensen. It's just I don't like that you're just using a picture of him for the cover. Hang on just a second. I'll grab, and actually, hang on. I do need to pause the recording because with it being iRobot, it seemed appropriate to turn the tracking on for the webcam and let it do its thing. So let me be right back. Okay, and I'll turn that tracking back on as well. But yeah, so the cover art for the original trilogy novelization, this is fine, and obviously it is a scene from the movie, but it has been painted. It's a portrait essentially instead of just a snapshot like this is. And it's like, I mean, I get it, but it's like this is a book, not the movie. Don't give me the movie then. Now I will grant one kind of sort of exception. I don't know how I want to count this, but and I do not know when I will be doing this, but I don't mind sharing that I will be going through the Princess Bride, since I was making the comparisons about Prince Humperdinck, and this is better as a mastermind than Palpatine is in the prequel trilogy. It seemed fair that I purchased this, and obviously it needs to be a physical copy because it's not the same thing, it's reading an ebook than this. So yeah, but I will grant, I mean, this is, I'll be honest, the Wesley here, that doesn't look completely like, his face doesn't look like Carrie Ewell's. Buttercup, though, I don't remember the name of the actress. It looks exactly like her. So this, I'm not sure how much of this is a photograph and how much of it might be painted. Some of it might actually be something painted, which that's, to me, a good in-between. But I think that there's also... Oh, here. Going back to this. Or actually, no. Let me use iRobot, since that is what the thing is actually about. The video is actually going to be about. This at least seems a fairly neutral image for it, and most people are going to know the movie before they know the book, which is somewhat disappointing because the movie's based on the book. But is this as neutral a cover, as neutral an image? And this clearly does seem to be just a snapshot, probably edited somewhat, but it might also be like art from the movie, for the movie. This is not a neutral image, though. Not with how he's glowering at you, and also the whole aspect of this is a final image. Like this is at the towards the end of Revenge of the Sith, and that's what you're showing me. I don't know. I've never seen the iRobot movie, but this, it just seems like, is actually in the fire swamp. So it's about in the middle of the movie. I assume it's also in the middle of the book. So it's like that seems more appropriate. And then this is just, honestly, it's just like an evocative image. Having this robot here, having its mouth be the eye, for iRobot, and having it just in the torso there that is humanoid in some aspects. I mean, you've got obviously a recognizable head. You have the neck. You have. I'm just trying to think. I think I can safely say that it's more so a masculine shape because we do tend to have a more triangular shape. Does seem a bit more like that, but you have the wires there, and it is because it's just connected to the glowing red eyes. It is inhuman, but it still is. You both have that semblance of something recognizable as human, but also clearly it is not. And that, because I do remember some of it, that's very much an aspect of the story. In fact, there's one of the short stories in here, because technically it is a collection of short stories. I believe it's Evidence. I could be wrong, but I think it is Evidence, which is 8. That there's the introduction, then 9 short stories. And collecting here, I want to say it's Evidence that does get into how human are robots and what does that necessarily mean. Yeah, but it's also just one thing I'll add related to that to a degree is I'm probably going to forget a lot about the prequel trilogy even before a year is out. 15 years ago or so is when I read this. And I still remember a fair amount of it. Now, to be fair, my memory for recording events, encoding them in my brain, was better back then than is now. It can still be as good today. It's just I need to choose to do that, and I never chose to do it for the prequel trilogy. And, well, somewhat, but it was moments. The original trilogy, more so. But no, this sticks with me. It's going to be a lot of fun to go through it. Just trying to think what else, because I don't want to keep going on too much. I mean, yes, this is a paperback. It's a relatively small one, but I mean, this isn't what I'm reading. I will say this though, I'm comfortable with this size, and like that's easy to hold in, and it doesn't feel like it's going to try to constantly close itself. Whereas, oh no, it is actually about the same width as the original trilogy, but it's so much smaller, and the paper of this feels a little sturdier, a little more rigid, but definitely the binding does. I was like, this wants to close itself desperately. Whereas this, and some of this is age, but I can also believe some of it is from just how it was made. This feels like it relaxes. Not true, that's actually damage to the binding. But this feels a bit more comfortable in my hands to hold open than this does, which might just be it's too thick. It might just be that. By the way, I don't think I'm going to keep the tracking going for the other videos. It just felt like it would be fun for this one. It is not that long a book. We'll see how some of the videos I'm going, because some of the... Well, here, let me just look at the table of contents. What does it say? 30 pages, 26 pages. Again, 26 pages. 29... 25. I mean, it's like these are not short story. They're not short chapters. They are, as I said, technically short stories. I don't know what necessarily counts as a short story. I mean, it's like I've written emails that are as long as some short stories. So yeah, I mean, not necessarily this long, but still. So yeah, we'll see how long the videos end up being. Because of that. Because I know with the prequel trilogy, the longer chapters tended to see me make longer videos, but it was also, with some of those, there was more for me to complain about. But it will also be interesting because I haven't yet experimented with the stylus in an ebook. And by the way, I have dark mode on, you can turn that off, and I haven't experimented with that. I have on PDFs. To see that, but it will be interesting to see this, because in theory it should be following, it'll be attached to the words, but yeah, we'll see. I might end up having to not do that, but it'll be easier to just use this, go over and type, come back, than with the book having to hold it open to find a page and type. So we'll see how some of that works out, but yes, it is going to be different. Just trying to think if there's anything else to mention. Not really. I should have the links. I just want to make sure. Yes, I do have a link to the Barnes & Noble version of the book, a copy of the book, in the description below, so you can find it there. Obviously, it's going to be available plenty of places, but I'm just picking Barnes & Noble because I know you can get a physical copy. You can also get an electronic copy, an ebook copy if you wish. Amazon you would as well, but I don't need to throw Amazon any business, I feel. Even though my books are on Amazon. That business I will throw there, but yeah. Amazon gets enough money. But yeah, don't need to focus on Amazon is basically my view there. So yeah, this will end up being, I guess, 11 videos then, because 9 short stories, the introduction, and then this video. Because the actual reading of that introduction will be its own video. Alright, I guess one last thing to say is this would be the first of the 5 Isaac Asimov stories I own and have read. That's the first one that I read. I've read the other 4. Only really like 2 of those 4, The End of Eternity and The Stars Like Dust. I already read those within the past year, though. Well, we read them. So I'm not going to do those for assigned reading, at least not anytime soon. But I do, both of those I really recommend. iRobot is a little tainted because it was a school assignment. It was, in fact, assigned reading for me, which I talked about in the original assigned reading video. So it will be fun because I am going to be separated from that, but at the same time, sometimes things can be impressed upon you even years later. So hopefully I will enjoy it as just I'm reading it to enjoy. We shall see. And also to criticize. I'm not really sure what else to say. I'm kind of tempted to see if I can talk about, like, Isaac Asimov's writing had an influence on me, but I don't know if that's true. Hang on just a second. I don't like how... Well, here. I actually have the... See, that's how large the image is supposed to be, but I don't want to be that large. So I do try to have the camera aimed down a little bit. There we go. That should stay better. Yeah, I don't really know how much Isaac Asimov has influenced me in my writing. I mean, probably some because my memory is... He has technical stuff right, and there's nuance to the technology that is important. Like, in The Stars Like Dust, how the Tyranny ships jump through space to their hyper jumps is actually of great significance, both in terms of setting up what's going on in that world, in that story, but also it is a critical clue to a question, to a problem that is significant within the story as well. So there is definitely that aspect that I don't know if that's so much I've incorporate that into myself, or it's just I consider that good writing. So in my own science fiction, I try to do that as well. I try to have an understanding of the technology and of the nuance there that I can apply it and do things with that. And indeed, a letter from Catherine does demonstrate some of that. But I don't necessarily know if that is an influence of Asimov or just I consider that good story writing, and he apparently did as well. And I'm still feeling like this isn't quite right. Hang on. See, this is why I shouldn't actually turn this on. Turn on the tracking. Okay, that's better, because now, as you can see, I'm being cut off. I don't think anyone wants to see me. Doesn't want to see me that huge. Especially now, when I got that thing behind me. What is it again? An image of the small Magellanic Cloud from the Spitzer Space Telescope and Chandra X-ray Observatory. Here, I'll even turn myself off so you can see it. It's beautiful. Really beautiful. Yeah, so I am definitely looking forward to getting into it. I have an idea or two for what I will do next after this one, because this one might end up being kind of this playlist will potentially end up being kind of short. Well, it will end up because it'll be one video per part anyway, per chapter. So 13 in total. No, 11 in total. Sorry. Starting from 13, then remembering the 2 additional, but no, 11 already include the 2. One thing that will also be interesting, I'll mention this, and then I can stop. I had a hard time with going from doing a recording in this and then doing my own writing afterwards. I had a hard time with that, both because sometimes it would take a while to read and write up all the notes and then do the recording, but also because I really hated a lot of chapters in Revenge of the Sith, so it put me in a bad mood, and I don't want to write when I'm in a bad mood, or I'm not really able to write when I'm in a bad mood. This, I expect, will be keeping me in a good mood. This is also science fantasy. iRobot is science fiction. I know I'd screw up the direction. But that's science fiction. The current story I'm working on is also science fiction, so that should also help. But we shall see how that goes. Or rather, I will see and then tell you. Different kind of science fiction, but still, it is science fiction, while this is not. Alright, yeah, that'll be it. So, see you next time for its introduction. Which, I don't think it's that very long. It'll be easy for me to tell in this. I'm also unsure Okay, yeah. This is an in-story introduction. Um, yeah. So, assuming that what's in that is similar to this, meaning almost like a prologue, where it's uh, introducing you to the story, to one of the story's main characters. Technically, the story is a framed narrative, where it is this woman, Susan Calvin, Dr. Susan Calvin, who's introduced in the introduction, her relating various stories that are her own or ones that she'd heard from. I don't remember if they are predecessors of hers, but certainly like co-workers, or at least in the general sense of the term. No, they were. I think they were predecessors to her, because well, that's for the introduction. That is for the going through the introduction here. But yeah, so that is in universe versus like I typically have like an author's note that's just me talking. But in one book that I want to rewrite, so I don't want to name it. It's already out. It's just I don't recommend it, and I want to rewrite it. I did actually use a prologue there. That's more so what this would seem to be. Like I would consider this introduction more like a prologue. But it's hey, I'm not sure how formal those terms are. Maybe they are, and I'm doing everything wrong. I'm okay with that. But yeah. So anyway, I should shut up and just say see you next time. And the wave. Have to do the wave. Always do the wave.